G here with another sew along as part of my Mimi G for Simplicity pattern collection. Today we're going to be sewing my sportswear pack for fall 2015. We're going to be sewing pattern number 1019 and we're going to be making our tunic. Now the tunic can be made either long or short, it's up to you, the sewing is exactly the same. Now if you're new to sewing or you need a refresher, you can go back to the sewing basics video linked in the description box below where I talk about choosing the correct pattern size, how to cut out your pattern, how to lay your pattern pieces onto your fabric, how to read and understand the information that are on the pattern pieces, and a whole lot more. Once you're done viewing that video, come back here and follow along with me. Now it's always so exciting for me to see all of the amazing garments that you guys create from my patterns. So I would love it if you could tag me in your pictures on social media at MimiGStyle and always use my hashtag SewingIsSexy. Alright, if you've watched my sewing basics video, then you should have all of your pattern pieces cut out in the size that you're going to be making. I'm going to go over the pattern pieces you should have. You should have pattern pieces 9 and 10, which is the front and back facing of our tunic. You should have pattern piece number 7, which is our shoulder tab facings. You should have pattern piece number 13, which is our tie belt. And of course, you should have pattern piece number 8 and pattern piece number 6, which are the front and back of our tunics. And then you should have pattern piece 11 and 12, which is the upper sleeve and the lower sleeve. Now for this tutorial, I'm going to be making the long tunic version, and I'm not going to be color blocking it, so I'm cutting my sleeve out of one entire fabric. So what I'm doing is I'm going to overlap these pieces by 5/8, and I'm going to cut the entire sleeve versus cutting out the bottom in one color and the top in another color. You can do it however you like. If you want to make the sleeve one entire color, then simply overlap this by 5/8 of an inch and then cut the entire sleeve pattern. If you plan to make the cowl, then you're going to need to also cut out pattern piece number 14. Now that you have cut out your pattern and you have cut out all of your pattern pieces out of fabric, we can start sewing. Okay, we're going to start with our front piece of our tunic, the front of our tunic, and we're going to make our darts. So go ahead and fold and pin where your bust darts are going to be. Pin in place. And make sure that you mark your dot where your dart is supposed to end. That's very important. And we're going to sew. Following our dart guide, and when we get to the dot, we are going to sew completely off, so we're not going to backstitch. We're going to pull, and we're going to tie off. That way you don't get any bumps right at the end of that dart. And you're going to do the other dart the same way. And then you're going to press your dart down. Okay, now that we have our darts sewn, what I want you to do is I want you to grab the shoulder facings, and on the edge that is not notched, I want you to press under 1/4 of an inch. And we are going to place it right on top of our shoulder, like this. And we're going to pin. Make sure you align the notch at the top. And pin again. And we're going to sew along the very edge here of this folded edge. And then you're just going to baste at the very top. Just to keep it in place. You're going to do the other shoulder the same way. Once we attached both of our shoulder bands, we're going to go ahead and put the facing on. So with right sides facing, I want you to lay your facing over the top. Align your notches here at the shoulder. And you may want to pin around the neckline just to help you keep things together. Okay, we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance across the shoulder and around the neck and then up the other shoulder. Go ahead and trim around your curved edges, trim your corners, and you're going to attach your back facing the same exact way. The only thing you will not be doing for the back facing is attaching your shoulder bands because the back does not have them. Now go ahead and make your buttonholes. If you want to make your buttonholes on here, make this functional. If you don't want to make your buttonholes, you can just pin this in place and stitch your buttons all the way through when we get to that point. I'm going to pin it now. You will need to look at your manufacturer's instruction manual that came with your sewing machine to see how your machine does buttonholes. They're all very different, so you'll have to follow that instruction manual in order to make your buttonholes. Otherwise, go ahead and pin this front to back the way I have done here, and we're going to stitch this along the arm's eye to keep this all together, and then I'm going to have you do a flat method insertion on your sleeve. But I want to go ahead and baste the edge of this together. Pin this over here to get it out of my way. And then what you're going to do, you're going to do the same thing for the other side, and then you're going to grab one of your sleeves and you're going to align your notches first, okay? So you have one notch for the front of your sleeve, so pin there first. And then you have another set of dots, which I also just made little notches for. And I'm going to pin that there. And then of course you have the center of your sleeve, so you want to pin that right at the center of that band, shoulder band that you have. And then you're going to continue pinning. Pin at your double notch and then again at the end. And you're going to notice that in some areas between our pins, we have excess here, so we have to ease this in, and the easiest way to do it is on the part that does not have the extra give. You just make a couple of little snips into your fabric, and then as we sew, we're going to expand, and that will expand and give us that ease that we need. So just do that everywhere that you see you need to ease the sleeve cap in. All right. And now we're going to start to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You can go ahead and serge off your seam or you can trim it down, and then when you turn it around, you'll see you have a really nice finished sleeve cap, and you're going to ease and sew your other sleeve the same way. Once you've inserted both your sleeves, we're going to turn this entire thing, and we're going to sew in one continuous stitch from the sleeve down to under the arm, and then all the way down our side seam until we get to our slit, and then we're going to stop. And you should have either a notch or a dot where we are going to end our stitching. So go ahead and pin along your arm and down your side seam, and then we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to finish off the other side seam the same exact way, and then you're going to press your seams open. Now, if you want, when you get to your dart area, you can serge from your dart all the way through your sleeve. If you want to serge this excess off, you can trim it off, but I wouldn't trim anything below that because you do need it to finish off the side and the hem of our top. Now, once you have sewn both side seams, we're going to go ahead and finish off our hem. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cut a little further into the seam right above where our slit starts, and we're going to do a double fold. So I'm going to fold, and then I'm going to fold again. When I get to one side, I'm going to pivot, sew across, and then down the other slit. And you're going to do this all the way down your slit and then across your hem until you reach the very end. Once you're done sewing all the way around your slit and across the bottom, the only thing left to do is to sew the hem on our sleeve. So you're going to turn over your hem allowance. Cut off any loose thread. You're going to finish the other sleeve the same way, and you are all done. The only thing left for you to do is to give this a good press. And if you made buttonholes, then go ahead and sew your buttons down to the back, and then just go ahead and put them through. If you did not make buttonholes, then you are simply going to pin this together so it doesn't shift on you. You're going to place your buttons on your tabs, and you're going to stitch through all layers, and then you are all done. Now we're going to sew our tie belt. So you should have cut 2 of these, and we're going to stitch them together at one end. And then you're going to press this open, and then you're going to fold this in half, and we're going to start sewing about 1.5 inches away from our seam line, and we're going to stitch using 3/8 of an inch all the way down and across the end. pivot across the end here. Go ahead and trim this right at that corner as well, and then you're going to do the same thing, starting again on the other side, about 1.5 inches away from that seam. When we're done sewing this side, we're going to turn it to the right side. Once you're done, you can use a point turner or a pencil or whatever you have handy really. And we're going to turn this to the inside and then out through that opening that we left. Once you have it turned, you can go ahead and pull out these little corners here. And then you're going to give this a press all the way down. And then all you're going to do is you're going to turn this to the inside, turning in that 3/8 of an inch, and you're going to sew this closed right along that edge. Give it one really good press, and then you can move on to making your cowl. If you want to make the cowl, then you should have that pattern piece ready. And this one's pretty simple. All we're going to do is fold it in half, and we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And once you've done that, you're going to fold this in half, sticking one end inside the other. And you're going to pin. You're going to pin, matching up your seam lines, making sure that your notch is aligned. And we're going to sew, but we're going to leave an opening. So we're going to sew all the way around. Then I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to leave about a 2.5 inch opening, and then I'm going to continue sewing. Back stitch when I meet the other stitching. And then we just need to pull this through our opening. And then we're going to stitch this closed. So once you close out your opening, your cowl neck is all done. And you are completely finished. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this sew along, and I can't wait to see all of the amazing things you guys are going to create from my patterns. Make sure if you post on social media that you tag me at MimiG Style and use my hashtag SewingIsSexy. Until next time, peace.